My friends, there are whispers, there are rumors, and there's a growing sense that the team's next move might surprise a lot of people. While some fans are hoping for a flashy headline name, what's coming looks far more strategic, and maybe even controversial. Inside the organization, every decision now seems to be focused on fit, chemistry, and familiarity, not flash or fame. And that's exactly where things start to get interesting. Across NFL circles, there's talk that Pittsburgh is back in the market for a wide receiver. Not out of desperation, but out of smart planning. This offense needs speed, someone to stretch the field and bring balance to the scheme. And looking at the current roster, there are young players stepping up and veterans who could still add that much-needed experience alongside the quarterback. But what's coming next might divide opinions, and that's what makes this story so good. Will the front office go after a familiar face, someone who already has chemistry with the team's leader? Or will they double down on the talent already in-house, ready to prove their worth? Steelers Nation, the floor is yours. Drop your thoughts in the comments. What would you do if you were in Omar Khan's shoes? And of course, if you live and breathe this black and gold roller coaster like we all do, hit that like button to support the channel. Because in Pittsburgh, nothing happens by accident, and something big is about to go down. Go Steelers! Steelers Nation, something is brewing behind the scenes in Pittsburgh, and it might not be what fans were expecting. The buzz around the Steelers' wide receiver situation is getting louder by the hour, and while some fans are hoping for a big splash, the team's next move could be far more calculated and controversial. Based on what's been unfolding inside the front office, it looks like Omar Khan and Mike Tomlin are about to make a move that prioritizes fit, chemistry, and familiarity over flash and headlines. And that's where things start to get interesting. According to recent discussions and credible reports from insiders like Ian Rappaport, the Steelers are officially back in the market for a wide receiver. The reasoning behind it is simple. This offense, built around multiple tight end sets, could use an extra speed threat to balance out the passing game and stretch the field vertically. Rappaport even suggested that pairing a deep play specialist alongside DK Metcalf could give Aaron Rodgers the dimension he needs to open up Arthur Smith's system. But here's the thing. The Steelers already have a guy who fits that mold, and his name is Calvin Austin III. Now, for those who've been watching closely, Austin hasn't always had the target share to prove it, but when the ball finds him, he delivers. We've seen the flashes, that game-winning touchdown against New England, that explosive play versus the Jets.
He runs sharp routes, creates separation with precision, and his speed makes him dangerous any time he gets into space. The kid is electric. He may not be putting up gaudy numbers yet, but the tape doesn't lie. When given the opportunity, he produces. And now that he's returning to the lineup, the expectation is that he'll step into a bigger role as the number 2 option next to Metcalf. But he's not the only young receiver showing signs of life. Roman Wilson, the rookie, has quietly started to turn heads over the past couple of weeks. For catches, multiple first downs, and a few plays that were wiped out by penalties that had nothing to do with his execution. He's quick out of his breaks, uses his hands well, and is finding those soft spots in coverage. You can see him learning the NFL game week by week. For a team that runs a lot of 2-receiver sets, Wilson looks like a promising and reliable WR3 option moving forward. Still, the Steelers know how fast things can change. Depth at wide receiver can disappear in an instant, and this front office has no intention of being caught off guard. That's why there's growing belief that Pittsburgh will add another piece to the puzzle before the trade deadline hits. But here's the catch. Fans expecting a blockbuster move might be setting themselves up for disappointment. Omar Khan has been extremely careful with draft capital, and the Steelers' philosophy heading into this deadline seems to be about smart spending, not splashy spending. So instead of chasing big names like Chris Olave or Jacoby Myers, Pittsburgh might be eyeing a more affordable option, one that brings experience, leadership, and a proven connection with Aaron Rodgers. And according to multiple sources, the perfect fit might have just become available: Marquez Valdes-Scantling. That's right, MVS, Rodgers' former deep ball target from Green Bay, was just released by the 49ers with an injury settlement. He's 31, still has his speed, and most importantly, he knows Rodgers better than almost any wideout on the open market. We've seen that chemistry before, those back shoulder throws, the trust on deep routes, the unspoken understanding that comes from years of working together. It's no secret that Rodgers loves having familiar faces in his offense, and this wouldn't be the first time he's pushed to reunite with an old teammate. Reports already suggest that Rodgers has reached out to MVS personally, recruiting him to Pittsburgh the same way he did in the past with players like Randall Cobb, Alan Lazard, and even Devontae Adams during off-seasons. And the connection between the two extends well beyond Sundays. They've worked together during off-season training sessions at Rogers Place in Malibu, keeping that chemistry alive long after their Green Bay days ended. If that bond can translate to the field again in Pittsburgh, the payoff could be huge. From the team's perspective, the logic is sound. MVS checks every box the Steelers are looking for: affordable, familiar, experienced, and still capable of stretching defenses. He's not coming in to be the top dog. Metcalf and Austin are still the focal points, but as a WR3 who understands Rodgers' tendencies, reads the field the same way, and brings championship experience, he makes perfect sense. Plus, signing him wouldn't cost the Steelers any draft picks, a major plus for a front office intent on protecting future assets. Sure, the critics will say he's inconsistent, that he's had issues with drops, and that his route tree is limited. All true, but he's also a proven deep threat, a player who's made big catches on the biggest stages, including the Super Bowl. For a team that doesn't run a lot of 11 personnel looks, MVS wouldn't be asked to do too much. Just one or two big plays a game can completely change how defenses play Pittsburgh's offense. And if the reports are right, this isn't some random rumor, this is something the Steelers have been interested in for a while. They pursued MVS before the season when he was released by Seattle, and it came down to a choice between the 49ers and Steelers. He chose San Francisco. But now, with that door closed and Rodgers still calling, the timing feels almost too perfect for a reunion in black and gold. So here's the question, Steelers Nation, is this the right move? Should Pittsburgh take the safe route and sign Marquez Valdes-Scantling for his chemistry and experience with Rodgers, or should Omar Khan roll the dice and aim higher for a true WR2 before the trade deadline? Because here's where things start to get really complicated for the Pittsburgh Steelers. The decision between making a bold trade for a high-end wideout and signing someone like Marquez Valdes-Scantling is about more than talent. It's about identity, timing, and trust. Omar Khan and Mike Tomlin are trying to balance the urgency of winning now with Rodgers at quarterback against the long-term stability of the roster. And every move they make between now and the trade deadline could define how the rest of this season unfolds. Let's be real, fans would love to see a splash move. Adding a name like Jacoby Myers or Chris Olave would instantly ignite excitement across Steelers Nation. Those are proven, polished receivers who could slide into a WR2 role seamlessly and give Rodgers another reliable weapon on every down. But it's not that simple. Making that kind of move means parting with draft picks, taking on a larger contract, and potentially stunting the development of players like Calvin Austin III or Roman Wilson. And right now, the Steelers seem unwilling to mortgage future flexibility just for short-term noise. That's why MVS remains such a logical fit. He represents low risk, high familiarity, and instant integration. He's not someone who needs 6 weeks to learn Rodgers' signals or adjust to the quarterback's unique cadence. He already knows it. That's what sets this situation apart from past midseason acquisitions that didn't quite click. With Rodgers and MVS, the chemistry already exists, and chemistry can't be traded for. And don't underestimate how much that matters to Aaron Rodgers. We've seen it throughout his career. He plays his best football when he's surrounded by receivers he trusts. Think about how he lobbied for Lazard, Cobb, and even Adams in Green Bay and New York. Rodgers thrives when he can anticipate rather than react, when he can throw to a spot and know his guy will be there. That's the exact kind of comfort level MVS brings to the table. Of course, there are valid concerns. MVS has never been a model of consistency. For every 50-yard touchdown, there's a drive-killing drop that leaves fans pulling their hair out. But if Pittsburgh is simply looking for someone to stretch the field, force safeties deep, and open up the underneath game for Metcalf, Austin, and the tight ends, then he fits perfectly into that niche. You're not asking him to be a possession receiver. You're asking him to take the top off the defense and keep corners honest. And let's not forget, this offense under Arthur Smith is built around power, play action, and precision. They don't live in 3-receiver sets like some of the pass-happy teams around the league. They want to run the ball, use tight ends, and pick their deep shots carefully. A player like MVS doesn't need 10 targets a game to make an impact here. He just needs one perfectly timed deep strike-off play action to change a defensive coordinator's entire game plan. From a financial standpoint, it's also a win. Signing MVS wouldn't touch the Steelers' core budget or future draft capital. It's a short-term commitment for a long-term benefit, stability, insurance, and a better understanding between Rodgers and his receiving core as the playoff push begins. It's a move that quietly strengthens the team without rocking the boat. But there's still that voice in every fan's head saying, we can do better. And maybe they can. Maybe Omar Khan surprises everyone and swings big before the deadline. There are still names floating around, Myers, maybe even a veteran like Cortland Sutton or a younger playmaker who could become available if other teams fall out of contention. Those options would give Rodgers the kind of proven WR2 that fans have been begging for since the season began. Still, when you look at what Pittsburgh values right now, chemistry, experience, cost efficiency, and reliability, it's hard to argue that Valdez-Scantling doesn't check every box they're prioritizing. He's not the flashiest name, but he's a smart addition that fits the Steelers' blueprint perfectly. And if this team truly believes they can make a postseason run with Rodgers leading the charge, adding someone who already understands how he operates could make all the difference. So, as the clock ticks down to the trade deadline, this is the decision the Steelers front office faces. Do they take the swing that could redefine the offense but cost them assets and cap space, or do they go with the steady, familiar hand that might quietly be the better fit? Steelers Nation, it's your turn. What do you think Pittsburgh should do? Play it safe and bring back Rodgers' old teammate Marquez Valdez-Scantling, or go bold and chase a bigger name before the deadline? Let me know in the comments, and if you love getting these in-depth updates straight from the heart of Steelers talk, hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and keep your notifications on, because if a trade goes down, you'll see it here first. And that's really where this whole debate captures what it means to be a Steelers fan right now, torn between patience and urgency, between tradition and evolution. Pittsburgh's front office has always been methodical, never the kind to panic or make reactionary trades. But this season feels different. The window is open. Rodgers isn't here to rebuild. He's here to win, and every move the team makes from this point forward has to serve that mission. If the Steelers sign MVS, it sends a message. This team believes in the guys it already has. It says they trust Calvin Austin III to take the next step, that they believe Roman Wilson can grow into a reliable contributor, and that Rodgers doesn't need a superstar at every position, just players